In today's video, I'm going to tell you why, if you want to improve your improvisations, you should learn to compose. Now, this is a different style of video from what I usually do, but I hope you can still find a lot of value in this. Here's the issue. If you're like most people, your improvisations suffer from a few problems. These are very common. I can tell you my improvisations most definitely suffer and have suffered from these issues, but I have found ways to improve this. The first common issue is a lack of coherence. I can tell you this is extraordinarily common, and it's just because when you're improvising music, you tend to enter this Zen-like state where you forget everything else. And this includes the context around your music. You could start playing classical music, and without realizing, you're suddenly playing jazz. Has this ever happened to you? It most definitely happened to me. All the time. However, you can get used to thinking about the bigger picture in your improvisations. And as we will see, your composition really, really helps with this. Because in your composition, well, you have all the context of your music, the past, the present moment, and the future, right in front of you. The next issue is very related, it's a lack of structure. Have you ever found yourself playing a phrase in your piano, in your improvisation? Then you play another phrase, and then you could play the first phrase for repetition, for structure, but of course you've forgotten it. You have no idea of what you played before, so you just play a structure which is, well, in musical jargon, you would play A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. You just keep playing different phrases. I mean, that isn't really any structure at all. Another issue would be having no development, so you present musical ideas which don't grow. Like, the best music, in my opinion, is when you plant the seeds of music ideas at the beginning, so you can play some motifs. And throughout your improvisation or composition, you add more to these motifs, you change them, you make them grow. And this may mean grow in length, grow in harmonic accompaniment, or even change. For example, you can change from minor to major, and you see a development from a sad motif to a happy motif after having conquered something. I really like to make comparisons within music and storytelling. Another possible issue that you could be facing is that you don't add many details. This is because adding details is hard and it doesn't have such a high return on investment. However, when you're composing, you have the time to spend on adding details, and this will translate into you adding more details in your improvisations. Once you've composed music and you've seen what details work, you will slowly start to integrate those into your improvisations. And finally, lack of originality. When you're improvising, you have that time constraint. You can't really go out of your way to try something completely new. Um, Whereas when you're composing, you can write down your ideas, you can modify them, you have the time to add something completely new, see if that works. If it doesn't work, throw it out of the window, and if it does work, keep developing it. And this originality will once again seep into your improvisations. If you found something really interesting and original when composing, you can use those same ideas in your own improvisations later. So now I hear you asking, I'm an improviser, not a composer. How can I actually get into composing without spending too much time? And most importantly, in a way that it's fun, so you actually enjoy composing and it adds something new to your repertoire if you haven't tried to compose already. My first thing is, if you're more of an improviser, you may think that you're not a composer, but actually improvisation is live composition. It's composition really quickly. Um, I like to give the example of Bach or Mozart, who are really, really proficient composers. They were improvisers. Bach was known to improvise four-line music on the fly on the organ, which is absolutely incredible. For any of you who have ever played music in with four lines in the piano, you know that improvising that is absolutely insane. You can use a DAW. This is if you're not really that used to a musical notation, traditional musical notation. And if you want to add like more interesting sounds or synthesizers, this is very, very fun. Another option, of course, is to use MuseScore or Sibelius, any software, any notation software. This will give you more of that classical style while still being able to listen to music without having to have that composer's imagination. And of course, it's also an option to compose on paper. I do recommend this. And if you're improvising for various instruments, but you only have your piano, you have to imagine those instruments. You have to develop that musical imagination, which is extraordinarily useful. If you have a painter, you want them to be able to imagine the painting more or less and to translate that image they have on paper. But this is exactly the same thing we want to do as improvisers. We have to, if if we want our improvisations to be more coherent and structured, it would be nice to have a general idea of that improvisation in our minds, and then to be able to pass that onto action music. And this skill, this musical imagination, can be developed very, very strongly through composition, and more precisely through composition on paper. And then my final tip would be to just go full in, like try to compose for a lot of instruments. Go outside of your comfort zone. This will improve your musical abilities. Musical abilities carry over. If you get better technically on the piano, your improvisation will get better. If you learn another instrument, you will add a new way to think about music. Your improvisations will get better. If you learn how to sing, you will learn how to phrase better on the piano. You'll learn how to write more captivating melodies. So anything that you do music related will have an effect overall. And this is why you can go full in. You can have fun, try new things with composition. And then of course it's always really nice to have finished something of your own, which is more developed than an improvisation. Of course, then we have the concept, which I like to call improvised composition, which is composition for the lazy improviser. Just write out structure and harmony and improvise. So this is a bit like when you use a real book, but then you can write your own standards. You write your own melodies, your own chord progressions. You can even write out bass lines, whatever you want. Like you write some of the things, some of the music, and then you add whatever you want on top. This is similar to what I like to call the painter's approach to composition, which is a video I will be releasing soon. Which is that you compose the foundations of the music, like the structure, the chord progressions, the main melody lines and bass, and you don't add anything else. And slowly you start adding more and more details. So it's like painting, exactly. It's the same concept. Or you can stop that process whenever you want. If you don't want to go over all the effort of adding every single detail, you can stop at a certain point and then just use that as a basis for your improvisations. And you will see that this will make you think in a completely different way. Improvisations are really free, as compositions are much more structured. You can move some of this structure into your compositions by applying the technique of improvised composition. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, if any of these ideas resonated with you, I'd really appreciate if you left a like and if you subscribe to the channel. That's all for me for today. See you next time.